Hey, I'm Andrea. Welcome to my home. Let me introduce myself, and I hope you introduce yourself as well in the comments below. So, as I said, my name is Andrea. I'm a wife, a mom, a daughter, a personal trainer, and someone who lives with multiple autoimmune diseases. I have fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, celiac disease, and mixed connective tissue disease. And for the longest time, I struggled to find exercise that worked for me. So you see, prior to my diagnosis, I was a super active person. My husband and I loved to go for long hikes. I was a long distance runner and an avid skier, and I had a ton of energy and I loved being on the move. But as I got sicker, these things that I used to love, they became somewhat impossible. There were so many years where I struggled to get off the couch. Going to the grocery store was a super intense physical activity. The old me, that active me, that me was gone. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't try to exercise. I tried. My doctors would tell me that exercise would help me, but every time I hit the gym, I would feel worse a few days later, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why the exercise was making me feel this way, and I was convinced that it was just because I was out of shape, and I needed to push myself harder at the gym. So I would do that. I would push myself harder and harder, only to find myself getting sicker and sicker. If only I knew then what I know now, which is what brings me here today. That leads me to the topic of this video, which is I have an autoimmune disease. How should I exercise? Because I want to share everything that I know now with you so that you don't have to struggle the way I did back then. There is so much I didn't know about exercising with autoimmune disease, and that's my goal with this YouTube channel, to share with you everything I know as a personal trainer and an autoimmune exercise expert so you can stop feeling worse and find your way to exercise that makes you strong, gives you energy, and helps you feel good in your body. Okay, so here are the 5 most important things that you need to know as you begin your journey to finding your way to feel good exercise. Number 1, the how matters more than the what. When it comes to exercise, the first question people ask is, what exercises should I be doing? And that's a good question, but it's not the right question. My answer is that it's always more complicated than just learning a few exercises. Autoimmune disease impacts our physiological system, and if we don't understand how the physiological aspects of autoimmune disease interact with exercise, we're never going to be able to exercise in a way that works for us. Number 2, exercise is a double-edged sword for people living with autoimmune disease. Exercise is complicated for those of us living with autoimmune disease. Medical research shows that exercise can actually reduce the symptoms of autoimmune disease, which is why the doctors tell us to exercise, because they know it will make us feel better. Exercise really does have the power to transform our bodies. But exercise can also be problematic. Too much exercise can aggravate our autoimmune disease and give us flare-ups and make our symptoms worse, which is why we often feel worse after exercising or doing any kind of physical activity. This is why the how matters more than the what. We have to understand our body's limits and capacity for exercise so we can get all the benefits of exercise without those terrible flare-ups and setbacks. Okay, number 3. There isn't one right way to exercise when living with autoimmune disease because we're all individuals and our bodies are different from one another. The key to exercising with autoimmune disease is working within our body's level of exercise tolerance. I'm going to go into detail about exercise intolerance in another video, but what's important to know right now is that every single person living with an autoimmune disease has a different tolerance level for exercise. And to make it a little more complicated, we each have a variation in exercise tolerance depending on the things that are going on in our lives, and that can change week to week, month to month. This is all to say that there isn't one right way for everyone with autoimmune disease to exercise, which is why it's important to understand how exercise works for you physiologically so that you can exercise in the way that works best for your body. Okay, number 4, very few, if any, mainstream exercise programs or personal trainers or even physical therapists sometimes, they don't necessarily know how to work with people living with autoimmune disease. In personal training school, for example, I learned zilch about working with people with autoimmune related health conditions, which is crazy because there are more than 50 million people living with an autoimmune disease today, just in the US, and that number is growing. This is why it's important that we understand how exercise works for our bodies, so we can be an advocate for our own bodies and protect ourselves from exercise-induced flare-ups. And number 5, we need to be critical of the mainstream exercise programs and not let their messaging make us feel less than. Okay, the most common messaging we hear around exercise is no pain, no gain, right? And it's ironic that this is the fitness industry's mantra because it's the exact opposite of the way we should actually exercise. The no pain, no gain way of exercise teaches us to ignore our body's internal cues and to push past our pains. And this is exactly what causes those flare-ups and setbacks that make us feel awful. And the worst part is that when we try the no pain, no gain method and we don't succeed at it, we feel like it's our fault. I used to beat myself up thinking that I didn't have any willpower or motivation or that I was just lazy and out of shape. But now I know that my body was rejecting this kind of exercise because it was making me feel so sick. Trusting your body is the key to success. Now, these 5 tips are just the tip of the iceberg. My purpose with this YouTube channel is to teach you everything you need to know about how to exercise properly while living with autoimmune disease, because that's how we're gonna get stronger and live better with more energy to show up and live the life that we want to live. So stay tuned. I'm gonna be releasing so many new videos that are gonna dive in deep on all of these topics. But if you don't wanna wait for my YouTube videos, and if you're ready to learn a new way of exercising now and have me guide you through it step by step, I encourage you to check out my exercise program, Autoimmune Strong. Thousands of people from around the world have exercised using my Autoimmune Strong program and are experiencing the benefits of exercising properly firsthand. So just go to www.getautoimmunestrong.com and check it out. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to meet you and get to know you, and I'll see you in the next video.